Oh my God. Guys, it's Brett, my YouTube channel, Good Talk Gaming, and I'm excited. Another Friday means another set of updates from Overhype Studios, Devblog 120 Barbarians Part 3, and I got a little ahead of myself. I didn't read it. I just went ahead and scrolled down, and I saw this, and I zoomed back up, and I was like, oh man, I got to read this. I got to get this out right now. So Barbarians Part 3, and the first part, we looked at some of the weapons and the different types of perks and tactics that they use. In part two, we got a chance to look at three different units that they'll field, kind of the small, medium, large variant. And in today's, we get a look at two different unit types that are kind of going to augment the later game portions of their armies. In the same way that all the other races have something similar. Goblins have shamans, there's ancient priests, necrosavants. There's all these unique type units that augment the late game and make it so you're just not fighting sword and board against the enemy. So let's go ahead and start reading. In part two, we introduce three basic unit types of the new Barbarian faction that is to claim the North in the upcoming Warriors of the North DLC. This week, we take a closer look at the more specialized unit types. As always, keep in mind that things are still in development and may change. With that said, let's go. Okay, so the first one is drummers. And yeah, I didn't quite see that coming. Drummers is not what I expected. I was thinking that there would be a more of a shaman type, and then I feel like they're going to save a warlord style unit for last, maybe, if they even show them off at all. But I feel like that has to be coming. So drummers, let's read what they do. As has been tradition for generations, larger parties of northern barbarians that go to war are often accompanied by drummers. In a sea of rhythmic, tribal beats and chants, the barbarian mind will enter a trance-like state where there is only battle, and the barbarian spirit will press the body to its limit and beyond. We already know that they're pretty hard to break, that their morale is strong. Let's see if they clarify a little bit more what that does. So I jump ahead to the Beastmasters though. It says, as mentioned previously, barbarians have a very physical and fatiguing style of combat, and they don't pace themselves well. They're especially dangerous in the first few rounds. That makes sense because they do have anticipation, and they kind of mentioned in one of the earlier updates that they just sort of charge at you. They don't play a lot of games with skirmishing. So, but if you can weather this opening onslaught, barbarians will then often find themselves exhausted. Okay. The rhythmic beats of the drummers will have barbarians press on to glory despite this, reflected in the game by reducing the fatigue of any barbarian on the field by a small amount each round. Any barbarian. Okay, not every barbarian, any barbarian. A barbarian can have their fatigue reduced only a single time per round, no matter how many drummers on the field, but it may be enough to give them the strength to use an additional skill, which makes them all the more dangerous. It's worth considering, therefore, to make drummers a priority target, even if they themselves are unlikely to inflict any damage on your men with their wooden drumsticks. So I see them as almost, when you look at the Orc Warlords and the Goblin Overseers are probably the best example. Um, the Overseers can, in a single turn, take 3 routing goblins and then yell at them, and the next thing you know, they're like borderline unbreakable. And I think in a similar way, the drummers are going to take multiple tired units, and over the course of a long battle, they'll really start to earn their value. In the beginnings of a battle, everything's hitting, everything has their fatigue is still up, and they probably don't have too much use. But there'll be a part of the battle where your units, your brothers start to flag behind, and this guy is still chilling in the back, pumping up, the big champion guys, and letting them still hit you 2 to 3 times, and getting that anticipation, and they're able to just keep rolling and keep hitting you. I can see them being very dangerous. At first glance, they may not look like it, and in the first multiple rounds of the battle, it may feel like they're not doing much. But in a late game, let's say you're fighting 30 of these bad boys, and there's 10 left on the field, everyone's exhausted and injured, and this guy is still sitting in the back. I mean, he's gonna cause you to take way more damage than you otherwise would if you're leaving him alive. So we'll see how far his area of effect is. If he's able to sit on the opposite end of the battlefield and use his drums, it's going to be very hard to snipe him. I imagine he has to be in some sort of proximity, which may make it easier to take him out. But an interesting addition, not one that I saw coming, not in that way especially. So let's now look at the Beastmasters. So I think I've seen here the word druid. So I was expecting some sort of caster. Um, the goblin shamans and the ancient dead, the ancient priests specifically, kind of drop, debuffs in an AoE or, damage over time spells or things like that. And I was expecting something similar. Not saying that they still couldn't even do something like that, a shaman type unit, but a druid here. So Beastmasters are revered for their druid-like abilities to control the biggest natural predator of the north, the Unhold. Man, that's so awesome. And lead them into battle as living and breathing war machines. They wear ceremonial helmets with long horns and decorate their armor with animal bones, but their most useful tool is a thorn whip with which to exert dominion over their beasts. Interesting. So I'm looking at the picture. To me, this looks like some sort of like Cat of Nine Tails style flail. So it's probably not going to be a new like weapon type, a whip. I would imagine this just falls under flail. And these dudes look pretty well armored. It says they make their own armor, essentially, but probably going to be difficult to snipe these guys. And when I say snipe, if you're not watching my playthrough, basically what I mean is using war bows with the greatest range and the highest DPS in the game. Oftentimes a unit like this, a squishy caster unit, especially one that's not ancient dead, you can just snipe those bad boys out with some war bows. But if he's decently armored, that may not be an option. So he can control Unhold, and let's see here. I wonder if he can do it when he's already dead. In battle, the Beastmaster will always appear with one or more Unhold. These mighty beasts can wear anything from simple metal harness and chain, which we see here, to be controlled more easily, to having metal plates nailed right into their hide, something possible only due to the Unhold's uncanny ability to quickly heal any wound, even during battle. This guy makes me think of the Lord of the Rings, when they take like the cave trolls and stuff and they strap armor and things to them. And if you've ever seen The Hobbit, at the end, they have like a siege troll that they put like a big stone arrowhead on top of him, and they make him just run into a gate. That's hilarious. He like knocks himself out. But anyway, that's what it's making me think of. A beast armor like this can be impossible to bring down if you're not equipped both for handling massive amounts of armor and health at the same time. So there are two types of unholds. For those of you who play the game, these are the kind of the weaker ones. They have their high regen and their high HP, and they're dangerous. But you also have these variants here who also have armor, and I think they're immune to certain types of abilities. So they're much scarier, and the idea of strapping armor to them and giving them even more armor to go along with their massive HP pools and their regen is pretty frightening. So I think the strat will probably be to ignore them for as long as you can, or to pin them in place with a shield bro of some type, and go after the druid. We'll see how vulnerable they make themselves whenever we're able to finally get our hands on this and fight them. So every turn, a Beastmaster cracks the whip to direct their beastly war machines to do his bidding. However, a Beastmaster cannot do so if anyone is in their zone of control. Interesting, so you don't have to kill them to shut them down. And they very much can't do so if they're dead. If an armored Unhold doesn't get directions from any Beastmaster, they become confused. And every round there is a chance that they become feral, change to the Beast faction, and attack player and barbarians alike in a mad rage of befuddlement. I wonder what happens if you get into their zone of control, and then the next turn the Unholds become feral, but then you leave their zone of control. Do they have a chance? Do they crack the whip and then they get the Unholds back? I don't know. But the idea of like rampaging armored Unholds in the lines of the barbarians while you try to take them down, this is just going to be amazing. They're kind of exceeding my expectations right now in this DLC. They're adding things that I would have thought they wouldn't do, just because it's so much easier for companies to copy and paste stuff. And that's not what they're doing. They're totally thinking outside the box here and adding things that give each faction flavor in a way that I wish more games did. And it's really making me happy. I'm also wondering if we're going to see these groups. So imagine, all the 5 different types that we've seen so far, and I guess you can say 6 if you include the Unholds themselves, the unit types. I imagine there's going to be a warlord style unit, a boss of some type. They said there's going to be a unique location, so I'm thinking it's going to be some style of war camp type, in the same way that you can hunt down warlords for the orcs. And I'm thinking they'll probably also make use of the Warhounds. I have to imagine we'll see like raiding parties with, in the same way that we see, like groups of brigands with dogs. We'll probably see raiders with the big warhounds, and that'll be like kind of another unit type. We'll see if we get anything else. Hopefully, maybe next week. But what I'm really looking for and hoping for right now is some more news of when that we can expect the DLC to drop, because I want them just to shut up and take my money already. I am super excited. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Once again, stay as hyped as I am for this upcoming DLC because it is looking excellent. I mean, just they're they're blowing it out of the park. If they were just adding the Barbarians, I would be happy. But the addition of all the company origins, and that's just it's going to change the game forever, and it's going to put it in the best state it could possibly be in, and it opens the door for so many future changes as well. If they want to support this game for the next several years, they'll have built a great platform to do that. They can just add in company origins, and boom, next thing you know, you've got a whole new playthrough that you can get into because the game will feel fresh in that way. But anyway, guys, that's it for me today. Once again, my name is Brett, and my channel is Good Talk Gaming. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And guys, I will see you in the next one. Take care.